The kitchen light was the kind that made everyone look a little sick, and under it, Daniel Reyes stood with his arms crossed, saying the word again. Useless. He said it like he'd been saving it, like it had been waiting behind his teeth for years and had finally found its exit. Marin didn't flinch. She'd stopped flinching at this word around the third or fourth time she heard it, sometime in her 20s, and now it landed on her the way weather lands on a roof. Expected, absorbed, nothing underneath cracking. She'd come by that night for something ordinary. A folder. Some papers her mother had asked for weeks ago, and then forgotten she'd asked for, the way her mother forgot most things that weren't complaints. Marin had driven 40 minutes with the folder on the passenger's seat, and now her father was telling her to get out of his house, and for good measure, to rot in the gutter where, his words, she apparently belonged. She set the folder on the counter. She didn't correct him. She didn't say anything about the gutter, or about what she actually did for a living, or about the number that would have made every vein in his neck go still. She just picked her keys back up off the counter, next to the folder, and left through the door she'd come in. In the car, she didn't cry. She sat for a moment with her hands on the wheel, feeling the specific familiar shape of the moment. Not surprise, just confirmation, the kind you get when a diagnosis matches a symptom you'd already known about for a long time. It had started 6 years earlier, quietly, the way most arrangements that people are ashamed of tend to start. Her father's contracting business had gone under during a bad stretch, and rather than watch the house get foreclosed on, rather than sit through the specific humiliation of her parents explaining to relatives why they'd lost everything, Marin had simply handled it. Mortgage, utilities, her mother's medical bills. She'd set up automatic transfers from an account with a name on it that meant nothing to them, routed through an accountant who never once asked her to justify the arrangement because that wasn't his job. She never told them the money was hers. She let them believe, vaguely, that some refinancing had gone through, some restructuring, the kind of financial fog that people don't examine too closely when the alternative is examining it very closely. It was easier that way. It kept the money separate from the guilt that would have come if they'd known. The guilt might have made them cruel in new ways, or worse, it might have made them grateful, in a way she didn't think she could stand. She earned $45 million a year, running a trading infrastructure firm that fewer than 100 people in the country could accurately describe the function of. Her parents thought she did something with computers. It had never seemed worth correcting. 3 weeks passed the way silence passes, not as an event, but as an absence that slowly reveals its shape. The first automatic payment simply didn't go out. Marin hadn't canceled anything dramatically. She just stopped renewing the standing authorization when it came up. Let it lapse the way you let a subscription lapse. No email, no announcement. Just quiet non-continuation. Her mother, Elena, noticed the electricity bill first, the paper kind that used to arrive marked paid and now arrived marked otherwise. She assumed a clerical error. She called the utility company, waited on hold, was told politely that no error existed. Then the mortgage servicer called. Not a threatening call. Companies rarely bother being threatening this early. Just a woman with a calm, procedural voice explaining that the account, which had shown consistent third-party payments for years, had gone quiet, and that the Reyeses were now 3 weeks behind, and that continued non-payment would trigger standard notices. And did they have any questions? Daniel took that call. Marin heard about it secondhand, days later, through her mother's voice on the phone. Not accusing, not yet understanding, just confused in the specific way people are confused when a floor they didn't know existed gives out beneath them. They said someone's been paying it, Elena said, for years. They had a payment history. I don't. Marin, do you know anything about this? Marin was standing in her own kitchen when she took the call, a kitchen with better light than her parents', though she'd never once thought about it that way before this moment. I know a little, she said. A little? I helped out for a while, after Dad's business went under. There was a long pause on the line, the kind that has weight, that you can feel pressing on your sternum through a phone speaker. Why didn't you say anything? Marin looked out her window at nothing in particular. You weren't really asking before. She didn't call her father. She didn't need to hear him say anything. Didn't need an apology shaped to fit the moment. Didn't need the specific performance of contrition that she suspected he was, at that very hour, rehearsing in his head in case she called. She let the bank's letters do what letters do. She let 3 weeks of silence become the explanation that words never could have been. Her mother came to her a few days later, alone, sitting stiffly at Marin's kitchen table, like a guest in a country whose customs she didn't know. She didn't cry either. Whatever performance either of them might have staged for this moment, neither one reached for it. How much? Elena asked. Not really a question. Have you been carrying? Marin told her the rough total. Her mother's face didn't change much, which was its own kind of answer. Not shock, but the particular stillness of someone recalculating 6 years of memory in real time, matching new information against old certainties and finding they no longer fit. I'll help again, Marin said. But it won't be quiet this time, and it's not going back to what it was. Her mother nodded slowly, not agreeing exactly, just absorbing the terms. Nothing was resolved that afternoon. Her father didn't call, and when he eventually did, weeks later, his voice carried an unfamiliar carefulness that didn't quite become humility. More like a man walking on a floor he'd learned, the hard way, could give out. Marin kept the account open. She adjusted the arrangement, put her own name on some of it this time, let a little light in where there had only been fog. It didn't fix 6 years, or the specific sentence that still surfaced sometimes, unbidden in the kitchen light of her memory, rot in the gutter. She didn't forgive it, exactly. She just kept paying, differently now, watching to see what her parents would build, or fail to build, in the space her silence used to occupy.